Blog Talk Radio.
Hello and good morning, everybody. This is Laurie Smith on Blog Talk Radio. It is Thursday, February the 4th, 5:30 in the morning, Calgary, Alberta time, and I'm just having some coffee, waking up really bright and early here this morning. I'm excited to be here. This is one child abuse survivor to another, and it's a live streaming internet radio broadcast from blogtalkradio.com. And it'll be on about 15 minutes here this morning, just talking about the topic we've been on all week, and that is cutting and self-injury. It's self-harm support, help, support, and treatment from an article I found on HelpGuide at www.helpguide.org. And this is a great article, and I've learned so much just by reading it, and I had already read through it, but it just makes more sense as we talk it out, and just the issues surrounding self-harm, self-injury, and I'm glad that you can be here, and I hope it's helpful for you too, as well as myself. And so I'm going to just do some housekeeping. This is not a professional show, and I don't have any professional certificates or in counseling or in legal aid or anything like that. It's just me reading stuff on the air that I find very helpful and useful in my own walk. Healing from child abuse issues, and I'm an adult survivor of child abuse and secondhand domestic violence, child sexual abuse. So, it's just, listen at your own discretion, please, because some of the topics that I cover on the show are very sensitive. People are sensitive to the topic of abuse, and some of these topics might be just too much for a person, and so you have to decide before you start listening, whether or not it's something that's going to trigger you or cause you to feel bad, because that's just the whole issue. I'm all about education, prevention, and awareness, and of child abuse, human rights abuses, child sexual abuse, just all of it. So most of the topics, actually almost all of them, cover abuse of some sort. So make sure you're in a safe place when you're listening to this, and if you're under the age of 18, maybe you could have someone listen to it with you who's older, maybe a mentor, a school counselor, a nurse, or if you don't have a parental figure, like many people don't, who are either there or who care about what you're listening to, and make sure that they listen with you and see if it's something that you should be listening to, because I don't know where the players are now, and I just appreciate all the support. I have so many people supporting me. It's amazing, and people all over the world. I got friends in England and Australia and around the world, and lots of people in the United States are listening, and I thank you so much for your support. But I just want to make sure everybody knows that it's not a professional therapy session or anything like that. I'm just a survivor who is very interested in and going to spend the rest of my life trying to work to raise awareness and prevention of child abuse, child sexual abuse, all abuse, really. So, I thank you for using your own discretion. And if you don't like the topic and you just think, oh, this is going to make me uncomfortable, please turn it off. It's just not worth it. And so, if you're comfortable about it and you know that you can handle the topic and it's okay for you to listen to it, then please, by all means, join us. We'll be on another about 10 minutes. And we were looking at this article from www.helpguide.org all week. We covered all the stuff so far, like types of self-injury, and then there was reasons for self-injury, and self-injury as an addiction. We found out that it's addictive after a while, right? After people self-injure, it's kind of like a progressive process. It becomes habitual, and so that's why it's a problem, right? It was very interesting, this article. We'll continue on here this morning with self-injury and suicide. It says here, self-injury is usually not suicidal behavior, but rather a way to reduce tensions. Inflicting physical harm on oneself is a poorly learned coping mechanism, which is used to communicate feelings and self-soothe. Self-injury is strongly linked to a poor sense of self-worth, and over time, that depressed feeling can spiral into a suicidal attempt. Sometimes self-harm may accidentally go farther than intended, and a life-threatening injury may result, which is why intervention and professional help is required sooner rather than later. And that's just so important. People who have suffered in their life, have really suffered enough. And that's why this article is so important to me, because the facts, the stats and stuff on the beginning, when we first started reading this on Monday, there are about 2 million people in the U.S. that are self-injurers. and approximately 1% of the population has inflicted physical injury upon themselves. You know, it's really kind of an epidemic, and around the world, people are doing this around the world. So they're just not sure how many millions and millions of people are actually self-injuring as a way to cope. And there's got to be better ways to cope. You know, I just know there is. And you know, coming from my viewpoint, you know, I was ready to start self-harming, and I stopped myself, and I just had something telling me don't do it, because it's not going to matter, and to the people, you know, that I think it should matter to, it won't matter at all. And also, I'll just be hurting myself more, you know, causing more damage to myself than has already been done. But it's just that the pain in my heart just needed to come out, and I really couldn't find any way to express it. So there's ways to get around it, and there's coping mechanisms that people can learn that will help you to not self-injure. And you can get on these websites and start looking around if you're actually engaging in this self-harm or self-injury, because you don't deserve to suffer anymore. That's just why I'm doing this show. You know, we've suffered enough, and you know, that's what I'm so glad that I made that decision to not self-harm, because you know, now I can look back on it and I can say I know why I was going to do it, and I understand what was behind it. But now I'm so glad that I didn't do it, because I don't deserve to suffer anymore. I didn't deserve to suffer at the hands of my parents, and I don't deserve to suffer at my own hands. And so that's why I just think it's so important for people to realize that, you know, there's other ways to cope, and we can, as long as we keep looking for the answers, we'll find them, right? The answers are there, but we have to keep searching. And that's why this show is here. I mean, I just thought, you know, I have nothing better to do than try to support people, and just to offer some words of encouragement to people out there who are suffering from this kind of thing, because it's very painful. It's because of the pain in the heart, you know. It's just so hard on people. So that's why I'm saying I'm a friend. I'm here. Get a hold of me if you need resources. If we can find them together. Even if I don't have the resources, we can look for them together. I'm so absolutely adamant about that. Please make sure you and if you can't get a hold of me, get online, start looking around, and to look for these websites. And I have some I'll mention, and you find some other ways to deal with it, and you'll thank yourself later. You know, I would have really thanked my parents if they wouldn't have abused us as children, and so I have to thank myself for not doing that to myself as an adult. And so that's why I just really want you guys to think about what you're doing, and get some help. Reach out and get some help. I wish I would have done that. I wish I would have reached out and got some professional help, and I think, you know, in the future I very well might. And but I think at the time when I really needed it, that's when I would have appreciated it, and I would have come a long way a lot sooner. It took me a long time to get over these feelings, years and years. So I just say, you know, get some help, reach out, find some support groups that deal with self-injury, and these are people that are just like you and me, and they know what it feels like to be in that position. And a lot of times they'll have something that worked for them that they can say, hey, this worked for me, you could try it. And even if that doesn't work for you, they might have someone else who knows, right? It's so important to keep reaching out. It says helping a friend or family member who is a self-injurer. No matter how you look at it, self-harm scares people. It is very hard coming to terms with the fact that someone you care about is physically harming themselves. From the depths of your own fear and helplessness, you may feel frustrated if you are unable to get the person to stop hurting themselves, which can further drive the person away. It says some helpful tips in dealing with someone who self-injures. Understand that self-harming behavior is an attempt to maintain a certain amount of control, which is, and of itself, is a way of self-soothing. Let the person know that you care about them and are available to listen. Encourage expressions of emotions, including anger, and spend time doing enjoyable activities together. Offer to help them find a therapist or support group. Don't make judgmental comments or tell the person to stop the self-harming behavior. People who feel worthless and powerless are even more likely to self-injure. And if your child is self-injuring, prepare yourself to address the difficulties in your family. It goes on to say, start with expressing feelings, which is a common factor in self-injury. That is not about blame. It's not about blame, but rather about learning new ways of dealing with family interactions and communications, which can help the entire family. And so that's some good advice, really. Yeah. So we're supposed to encourage them to talk, encourage people to talk, even to show anger. Let the emotions come out, and offer some support and stuff like that. That's great. How can a self-injuring person stop this behavior? Self-injury is a behavior that over time becomes compulsive and addictive. Like any other addiction, even though other people think the person should stop, most addicts have a hard time just saying no to their behavior, even when they realize it's unhealthy, right? Just like me with my cigarettes, right? What can you do to help yourself? Acknowledge this is a problem. You are probably hurting on the inside and need professional help to stop this addictive behavior. Realize this is not about being a bad person. This is about recognizing that a behavior that helped you handle your feelings has become a big problem. And find one person you trust and get professional help. Maybe a friend, teacher, a rabbi, minister, counselor, or relative. Tell them you need to talk about something serious that is bothering you. And then they said here, get help in identifying what triggers your self-harming behaviors. Ask for help in developing ways to either avoid or address those triggers. And recognize that self-injury is an attempt to self-soothe. Learn how to develop better ways to calm and soothe yourself. I like that. That's so true. Figure out what function the self-injury is serving. Replace the act of self-harm with learning how to express anger, sadness, and fear in healthy ways. So that's just so important. There's some great tips there on what we can do to help ourselves. Acknowledge this is a problem. Realize it's not about being a bad person. Find one person that we trust and we can get professional help. Get help in identifying what the triggers are that cause us to self-harm, right? And recognizing that self-injury is an attempt to self-soothe, right? And then find out better ways to be calm and to soothe yourself, right? Figure out what function the self-injury is serving. So, yeah, we have to take a good look at ourselves, right? And, I mean, that's what I did. And I realized that what the behavior for me, in my case, that I was going to self-injure wasn't going to make any difference to anybody, really. They wouldn't have understood it. They wouldn't have realized that it was because of the pain in my heart. And, the scars in my heart that just weren't healing. And I thought, why am I going to even do this? The people in my life aren't even going to care. So then I'm going to hurt myself some more just to try to show the pain on the outside, and people won't get it. So because even people today don't get it. You know what I mean? If you haven't grown up in an abusive home, you have no idea. Really, it's hard to explain the amount of emotional pain and suffering that goes with it. So I think tomorrow we're going to continue on. We're going to look at treatments for self-injury, and you can get this right today. www.helpguide.org, and it's under the mental and abuse and the mental area. It's called self-injury. You can check that out today. There's cognitive behavior therapy. There's hypnosis or other self-relaxation techniques, and they actually show some of this stuff, and you can click right on it, and it'll take you to the links, right? Group therapy, family therapy. There's alternatives, to avoid self-harm, right? So we're going to look at that tomorrow. We're going to really go in depth in that tomorrow morning, 5:30, same time, and I hope you can join me. I found a website, and it is a new website. It's not new to websites. It's new to me. www.safe-alternative.com. And you can call them 1-800-366-8282. That's 1-800-DON'T-CUT. And you can email them at info@selfinjury.com. And it's called Safe Alternatives. Self-abuse finally ends. And they have a safe blog. They have webinars, news, updates, resources, journal articles and books, facts, interventions, referrals and lectures. All kinds of great stuff on there. And the Safe Alternatives for everyone. They also have one. It's called www.safefamiliesca.org. And that's family violence prevention, breakthrough program, resources and referrals, domestic violence series, and emergency assistance, all kinds of great stuff. There's groups, for instance, you can get involved with. There's Purple Phoenix Survivors. It's a faith-based, members-only women support group for sexual or domestic abuse. Anyone who suffered any kind of sexual assault or sexual abuse, domestic abuse, or child abuse. It's called Purple Phoenix, http purplephoenix.ning.com. I'm a member. It helps to get involved with these groups. There's so many survivors out there, and they have great information for us all. Heal My PTSD, Michelle Rosenthal at www.healmyptsd.com, and of course DreamCatchersForAbusedChildren.com. Just type that right into your browser. I'm a volunteer with them, and I thank you all so much. I'll be back on tomorrow morning. Have a great day.